This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles, on the Rockstar Radio Network. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money, and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by Author You and the Book Shepherd on the Rockstar Radio Network. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, top of the day to everybody. We have a fabulous day here from my home base in Colorado, and we're going to be talking about a couple of adventures that I think are so important for authors, and that includes book awards. Do you do it or do you not? Which ones do you go to? How do you pick? Because the book award industry has become so huge out there. And in our second half hour, we're going to be looking at not book awards, but book reviews. Again, do you go for them? Which ones should you solicit? Should you think about paying for it? What do you do if you have one that is not so good? So with me, our first part of the hour will be Ellen Reid. And Ellen I've known for several years, and she does some things that I do. We have a lot in common. Number one, we love working with authors. We love books, and we love quality books. Neither Ellen and I, it's almost like put the X over the spot if we see a book that is not up to our standards and our taste. And Ellen, as a book coach, as a book consultant, as a book shepherd, she's had a highly successful career in producing excellence for both her clients and many who've gone on to become award-winning. A few years ago, she became the founder, and she's the president of the National Indie Excellence Book Awards, which is one of the ones that the Author You community recommends to their membership to participate in. And she draws upon that practical in the trenches experience that she does when she works with her clients. She brings the same integrity and work effort to the book awards. And one of the things that I like a lot about what Ellen does, that when she's working with her own clients, they can't enter her book award contest, but she does encourage them to go on to some of the others. So with that said, welcome to your guide to book publishing, Ellen.
Yes. Hi, everybody. It's so nice of you to invite me, Judith. Thank you.
Yes. Oh, well, you are so welcome. Well, let's talk about some of those things that are out there. And what should an author be looking for when they're considering putting their monies into the book award field?
I think the most important thing to realize is that there are deadlines and dates of publishing of contests. Certain contests only have books that are in the previous year. For example, the Ippies, the Benjamin Franklin. So if you have a new book that's just come out in the prior year, there are contests for that. And I think you have them listed in a document you sent me, too, which is also very good. In my case, for the Indie Excellence Awards, we start with 2009, 10, 11, and then the contest ends April 15th. So if you have a 2012 book, you can enter that as well. So I think that has a lot to do with it, what the dates are.
So the years for the excellence, the National Indie Excellence Awards are again which years right now that you're taking?
2009, and then the contest is open through April 15th of 2012. So if you're published in the pub date has to be 2009, 10, 11, 12, and the books have to be in publication. They have to be able to be purchased on Amazon or in a bookstore or on a website. They can't just be PDFs that are downloadable.
All right, so they have to be a legit
They have to
book.
be published.
Yeah, they have to be a P-book. These are P-books or print books for our listeners.
Yes,
is that
now
correct?
Dan Pointer has the Global eBook Awards, which he just started last year, Judith. I know you know that. And
right.
we don't do the eBook award. We don't do ebooks. It's a totally different kind of, I guess, judging.
Now, e-books are different judging. They're a different type of animal, sometimes a different format. So let's come back to, so you're one of the few book awards, I believe, that really covers multiple years. in its judging.
Yes, that's true. And the rest of them are, like the forward is only the prior year.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this. Well, let's get into, Ellen, which book awards are out there. And the document that she was referring to for our listeners, if it's January when you're listening to this, you can go to the author U, AUTHOR, the letter U.org website. And if you click on the left side of the homepage, the current January e-zine has a really detailed article that will include that. If you don't have that, you can text 69302 and put in book pub, and then I will send it to you in a PDF attachment. So you have that. That's 69302 on your text, and put in the word book, or phrase, I guess I should say, book pub, all one word. All right, Ellen, let's go through before we go through the laundry list, here's what I want to do. What should an author look for in consideration?
I don't think I understand the question. What should an author look for, or what should a contest look for?
Well, no, which contest? When authors looking for what contest? Because there are a zillion out there now.
Oh, I see what you mean.
They become big business.
I like a lot of them, and there's some that even aren't on your list that I want to recommend too. I want to caution everybody that book festivals are not the same as book contests. There's a couple of PR people who are recommending that authors go to book festivals without contests, and I think that's kind of a waste of time unless you want to sit at a booth outside someplace and hope for the best.
Well, let's talk about the difference between the two. Ellen, talk about the difference between the two.
Well, a festival is when you pay for a booth and you get to sit there, and everybody comes, and it's like having a booth at a show, like we do, Judith, sometimes when we go to other people's events and we let people know what we do. That's what a festival does. Sometimes a book festival has to do with an author who won a contest, and they get the privilege of going to the festival where all the winners have booths, and then hope people will come. I've gone to some of those in L.A. I think the best part of winning the contest, though, is going to get the sticker or the certificate and being able to say, I won a contest on your website and with your social media and everything. That, to me, is the best of all possible worlds.
All right. And
not physically going to a place, a location.
All right. So the festival is really a type of a trade show that you go and you hope that the general public, it's usually the general public, wanders in and falls in love with your book and buys it and takes it home. Would that be correct?
Yes, but sometimes you can't get invited unless you've already won the contest.
All right. So you have to be award-winning to be included. Okay?
Exactly. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. All right, and then secondly, we have there are book awards, and then there are book awards. So when an author is considering investing their money, and I personally view that when you go into a book award contest, that's part of your marketing dollars, because if you're successful and honored, then you are going to take that honor and tell the world about it via some type of campaign. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. If I have a minute, I just wanted to read one thing from somebody that won the contest, and I'll talk about everybody else's contest too, because we're all colleagues in a way. I mean, nobody competes with each other. Everybody gets to enter however many or as few contests as they want to, and they're all judged independently of each other. So Alice Inuit wrote a book, and the little piece of it says, like everyone else, I proudly affixed the stickers to the front of my book, and in September I received an invitation from Lifetime Television to appear as a guest author expert on their morning show, The Balancing Act. It's a highly rated morning show with hundreds of thousands of viewers reaching 220 markets. They wanted me to share the contest for my book. When I asked how they found my book, the producer said, there are hundreds of thousands of books published each year, and we don't have time to screen all of them. We go straight to the award winners and start our screening process from there. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to say thank you as I credit you for blah, blah, blah. Isn't that amazing?
That's a lovely testimonial.
I mean, I got a chill when I got that. I thought, and she was so excited. But, we don't know what's going to happen out of these contests and what they're going to do with it. But this is just one little tidbit of what happens when you do win something and people find out about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, with that said, and kudos to her, certainly. With that said, there are some books, contests that might be more appropriate for one type of genre or a specific genres than others. Your contest has lots of options that authors can enter into. Is that not correct?
Yes. We do that on purpose because of the indie publishing and self-publishing and Create Space and small press and university presses and everybody except the big six, the random houses can enter the National Indie Excellence Awards. And so your books are judged against other books that are not print on demand. They're really published by other publishers, small press, they're indie publishers, and it's overall excellence is the way they're being judged. So that's just the contest that I sponsor. But the Benjamin Franklin Awards, they do it differently. They have critiques, and they send out, you know about this, Judith. Mm-hmm. They send out why the book won or didn't win or what they thought of it. We don't do that because we just don't. And I don't think a lot of the contests give critiques anymore. But that's sometimes a good thing to do. Benjamin Franklin's been around a long time.
Right, and for our listeners, the Benjamin Franklins are sponsored by the IBPA, the International Book Publishers Association.
Correct.
All right.
So the Colorado Book Awards is fabulous too, and forward you can only submit if you have a book from the previous year.
Mm-hmm. And that is strictly for independent press. That goes on. And one of the things that I mentioned in the when I was talking about book awards, in Colorado, there's the Colorado Center for the Book. And many states, and this actually was sponsored by the federal government, these centers initially. And many of the states do have a program. And so for our listeners that are all over the United States, you just want to contact your state, your capital, and find out if there is a Center for the Book. Just put in Center for the Book, Delaware, Center for the Book, Kansas, fill in the blank, and see if there is a link that will take you to a program. And they carry enormous prestige, winning one of the state ones, which I'm fortunate that one of my books did.
Oh, that's wonderful.
We did that. All right. So, Ellen, let's say someone sends a book into the National Indie Excellence. When we come back from the break, I want you to tell us what's kind of the process a judge might go through when they just look at a book.
Okay.
All right.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Is there a book in you or another? Author U will show you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you'll find a supportive and brainstorming community that's connected and creative no matter where you live. Author U brings in national experts for its book camps and annual author extravaganza held each May. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through Author U's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. The Resource, its online book publishing news magazine, is content-heavy and it's free. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, Author U is for you. If you're a hobbyist or a casual author, it's not. Join Author U today through its website at authoru.org. Follow Author U on Twitter at AuthorU and on Facebook at Author U, where timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted daily. Author U, where the author goes to become seriously successful.
Every picture tells a story. And it's a truism that people do judge a book by its cover. Nick Sellinger and NZ Graphics have been in the business of producing superior graphic cover design and interior layout for self-published authors, independent and traditional publishers for years. He has developed a reputation for excellent work, fast turnarounds, and best of all, affordable pricing. NZ Graphics also produces ebooks and book marketing materials such as posters, sell sheets, postcards, bookmarks, business cards, logos, and more. Books designed for his clients have won multiple book awards, including Best Book Award by U.S. Book News, multiple Evie Awards from the Colorado Independent Publishers Association, Indie Book Awards, the San Francisco Book Festival Award, and Freedom Medal Award from Valley Forge. Visit www.nzgraphics.com or call 303-985-4174 for more details about making your book the success it should be. Mention that you are an FOJ, friend of Judith's, and that you heard about NZ Graphics on your guide to book publishing.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask on the Rockstar Radio Network. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Hi, a reminder, if you have questions, you're listening live, you can call us at 866-404-6519. I'm Judith Briles, and with me is my guest, Ellen Reid, and she is the president of the National Indie Excellence Book Awards. We're talking about what makes books shine and what gets the judge's eyes, which is what I want her to go through, is some of the points that comes through when a book is shipped. So, Ellen, I'm going to throw it to you, and let's pretend you have just opened a package. You've got, let's say, 100 packages for entries. What's the judge going to be looking at?
Well, first of all, our entries are all judged per category. So if there are 500 books in the mystery category, they're judged against each other. That makes any sense. You'll have to look. The judges look at the overall book. They look at the cover. They turn it over, just like we did in the bookstores in the old days. Remember, 30 seconds for the front cover, a few seconds for the back, flipping through the middle, and they read. They read the book, but basically overall excellence is the key when you look at them against each other. So they're winning or they're finalists against their peers, which is fascinating. And you can really tell right away. I mean, there was a book that was really good. It was well written. The cover was totally black, and the title was in white, and it was just a little title in the middle of the page. So sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. So the judges have to decide that. You know, I'm not a judge. I'm not allowed to judge, but I do read. I do read a lot of the books because they're near me. So, and the judges read the books. But it doesn't matter how great the writing is if the whole thing doesn't fly. That makes sense.
Well, with a variety of different options, I know off the air you and I were talking about what's going on in CreateSpace, what's going on in in the LSI and the print on demand, what's happening with even the mainstream, the smaller, the lesser tier, not the big six, in publishers who are allowed to enter into the contest. So, what's the difference in these qualities that's come along that you've seen evolve over the years?
Oh my gosh, the most wonderful thing is that indie books and the print-on-demand books are starting to look very good. Mm-hmm. They really are. The designs are good. People are getting smarter. They know how to make a book look like it was done by a big house, even if it isn't. Mm-hmm. And so those are all the qualities that we look at when we're judging books against each other in a category. Including the copyright page, which, might sound like a stepchild, but Judith, this as a book shepherd. You can really tell the difference. An ISBN is one thing, but you might want to have a Library of Congress control number. You might want to have a publisher's cataloging and publication for the libraries, the disclaimers. Some of the books that come in don't have anything on the copyright page except an ISBN number. They don't even have the copyright 2012 by Dr. Judith Briles on there. So people ought to be careful, no matter what they do, even if they don't enter a contest, I think, in creating a book that competes, I would like to say, or is like a book that's done by mainstream or small press?
Well, one of the things that I've told people is that the authors, if their desire is to get into a library, they better have that LCCN number. They better have all the things that the big boys have. And if you're just not sure, for heaven's sakes, open up any mainstream book and look at what they have on that copyright page. You need to duplicate it. Of course, you use your name. I mean, it would be lovely, as Ellen said, copyright 212, Dr. Judith Briles. Well, I would be honored, but not a good idea. Use your own name.
Oh, did I say something? I'll tell you a story once, and this is a brief story about a woman who came to me with a book that she had published herself. Mm-hmm. And when I looked at it, I saw the PCIP block, and it said cataloging and publication, which is hard to get when you're doing your own thing. You have to get what's called a publisher's cataloging. And I said to her, "Where did you get this information?" She said, "Well, I looked in one of my books on my bookshelf, and I just copied it, and I made up all the numbers."
Oh.
And I told her, "You can't do that."
Oh, my goodness.
You can't do that. You have to actually get the real numbers. But that's just a rare case. But be careful, and that's why people should have advice from Judith, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And what people don't realize is to get those numbers, you're not spending money. You spend a little time, but not a lot. But you have to go through and fill out the bloody forms, and they respond. In fact, the Library of Congress, which used to take a couple of weeks, are now responding within 48 hours.
Oh, I know, faster than that sometimes. Mm-hmm. They're really on it, so that's very good. But I think a lot of writers don't even know that exists, and that they don't know how to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not all we look at. I'm just saying overall, kind of reminds me of going to a black tie event, where if all the men are wearing flat black ties, you don't notice anything until a guy comes in with a plaid bow tie.
Exactly.
If you look at a book and you see it and it looks like a big house did it, or a good small press or an indie press, you don't notice anything. What happens is when something isn't done right or left out, it stands out like that tie.
All right, so the books come in, the judges, whether it's mystery, whether it's health, whether it's inspiration, whether it's travel, whatever the category is, it goes to those judges. Mm-hmm. The judge picks it up, it gives it the 7 to 10 second look over on the cover. Does it appeal? Does it say what the book's going to be about, etc.? They do the flip over and what kind of information they're looking for there. And then they look at the spine. What are they looking for on the spine?
Oh, just the name of the book and the name of the publisher, the name of the author, and a publishing logo, usually, like they do in the big houses.
Okay, and then they do the thumb through to see how it looks.
Pardon me?
They do a thumb through of the book to see how visually it looks on the interior.
Absolutely. And I've seen so many books that are printed in Word, which is a no-no, as you know. They're just printed in Word, and they start at the top of the page and go to the bottom, and they're tiny little fonts, tiny little type, very hard to read. You know that those books were just printed. They weren't designed.
Well, Ellen, one of the things that I tell authors, and I suspect that you're probably on my page here, is that you really need to think of not only your genre, but who your reader is and what their age is.
Absolutely.
And if you're dealing with the adult crowd versus the children who read on their cell phones, that if you're doing that, you really need to think of the visual side. And I know that we have encouraged our authors to bump up the font sometimes, or make sure that they use a type of font. The interior designer uses a font that is a little bit broader so it's easier visually on the eyes.
Absolutely. All those are taken into consideration, not just with the contest I sponsor, but I would venture to say at most of the contests.
Mm-hmm. We have a few minutes left. What I want you to do is to go through what kind of contests. I mean, there's a lot out there. What kind of contests should our authors maybe steer away from that maybe are more about collecting the money versus giving you a quality sticker if you win, so to speak?
Well, I don't even like to say that because a contest is a contest. And the ones that are on your list are all very good, and the ones that aren't on your list are also very good. I don't know if you're familiar with the San Francisco Book Festival contest, the DIY, the Los Angeles Book Festival. There's a lot of those, And those are very good also, and they don't have many, many years of books coming at them. And they also don't have a whole lot of categories. I think the ones that have you compared to mainstream are hard. You know, some of the contests, I don't know who they are, will compare and have a Random House book next to an Author House book. How is that fair?
No,
you know what I mean?
That's not apples and oranges, it's apples and eggs.
Right. So there's a couple contests out there like that take everybody, and not, you know, so you wonder.
So it's about, well, I'll tell you, it's about the money.
Oh. Well, you know, I'm a book shepherd. I love indie authors, and I love the fact that we're getting to a place now where the quality has really risen to the top. It's wonderful, and it's a big thrill for me. This is our 6th year, and from 6 years ago till now, it's been amazing how things have gotten so much more mainstream looking, and the writing is wonderful, but the writing was always good. But the packaging is so great.
All right, Ellen, in our last minute here, what you've got your winners. What do you do with telling the world about them?
I have a publicist. I have 2 publicists. I have at Book Expo America, I hire the virtual press office every year, and they get the list of all the winners and finalists, and I put them all on the website. I usually have a video of the books of all the winners and finalists. They get it out to the press at BEA. So that's good. Then I have another publicist who gets it out everywhere where people want to know what books are winning which contests. So I pay for that. And I also pay for all the awards. You know, I give Sponsors' Choice Prizes out of the winners and finalists, I select certain ones that get the Sponsors' Choice Prizes. If you go to the site, you'll see what those are.
That's excellent. So let's give them the site so they can find you.
Oh, it's just indieexcellence.com with 2 E's, INDIEEXCELLENCE.com. And take a look, see what you think. There's testimonials, there's video testimonials. This year we got video testimonials, which I thought was so great, just to see how excited people are.
That's terrific. All right, Ellen Reid, thank you so much. You are one of the people we recommend. And one of the things we also recommend is that it's important for me with book awards that the sponsor tells the world about it. And Ellen Reid is one of those sponsors. You heard how she hires separate PR people to get out and do a fabulous shout out at the major Book Expo event as well as on her own. So Ellen, thanks for being with us.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You are welcome. Coming up, we have Phil Knight from Colorhouse Graphics who's going to give us a few tips on printing, and then we'll have Patti Thorn from BlueInk Book Reviews. I'm Judith Briles. We'll be right back.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Since 1987, Colorhouse Graphics has set the standard for quality book production. Whether you decide to print a small quantity of books or need a large print run, depend on Colorhouse to help you. You'll receive professional help and advice the moment you reach one of our representatives. If you mention hearing about us on your guide to book publishing with Judith Briles, we will provide you a discount on the first order you place. To speak with a project manager, call us toll-free at 800-454-1916 or visit us at www.colorhousegraphics.com.
Do you need postcards that make a statement? How about business cards, flyers, brochures, or NCR forms? Two Vets is the solution for all your printing needs. Providing services specially designed for authors, we deliver exceptional quality colored printing. Most important of all, we specialize in reducing your printing costs. No more waiting. No more standing in lines at your local printer. Online proofing. With our pricing tools calculator, you can get instant quotes on all your printing products, as well as shipping rates all over the United States. Just a few clicks of the mouse and you're on the way to discovering how easy and convenient online color printing should be. Contact our friendly, human account representatives. We recognize that you want answers, not voice prompts. Visit our website at www.tu-vets.com or call 1-800-894-8977.
Thompson Shore specializes in all books for big and small publishers. We're focused on pleasing our customers and creating beautiful, well-made books. When Ned Thompson and Harry Shore started Thompson Shore in 1972, they believed the best employees would make up the best company. They hired people who were not just experts in bookmaking and printing, but who were obsessed with quality. We can help you create buzz for your title when it's just in its infancy with a marketing kit. When you need to test the market to gauge your future sales, we can provide digitally printed books that will transition seamlessly into a larger offset run. We are books. We're flexible to meet your needs and expectations. From ebook to hard copy to delivery, you'll be in the very capable hands of our customer service team who are at the ready to answer your most pressing questions. Contact Dave Raymond at Thompson Shore. With Thompson Shore standards of excellence, you can be sure that you have the help to put your best book forward. Call 734-426-3939. That's 734-426-3939, or visit our website at thompsonshore.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask on the Rockstar Radio Network. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Oh, with me for a couple of minutes with one of our sponsored tips is one of my favorite people, Phil Knight with Colorhouse Graphics. Welcome, Phil.
Welcome, Judith. Thanks for having me on this evening. I appreciate it.
So what's our hot printing tip?
Well, the thing that maybe I would like to share with your audience tonight is something that I consider very valuable in the whole printing and publishing process, because the cost of printing your book might be one of the more primary costs in the whole process. And it's a big expense, and we all want to make sure that it's done right. My suggestion is to get your printer involved as early in the process as you possibly can, even at the point when you're considering design options. I can think of many occasions where I've had three-way conversations with designers about papers that we could utilize, about trim sizes and formats that are either more efficient or more practical. And quite frankly, we've had our eyes on hundreds and thousands of books over a long period of time. We have some pretty good idea of what good design is and how a book can function if it's designed properly. We also like to suggest that you get a good look at the materials that are being utilized in the process. And quite often I'll have a project that is heavily illustrated or full color, and I oftentimes suggest that we have some test files to process and share with the client so that they can see how the images look and how the book size feels and how the materials function in that book.
All right, and what would be the cost of that?
The designer and the publisher-author a chance to really get a good feel for what that final product will look like before they invest a lot of money in production costs.
All right, and so do you do that with a decision? Because I know I go out and we need to do a whole printing show, I think, Phil. But that I'll go out and I get bids from multiples, and then we may decide who we go with. So what's the extra cost of getting those pre-samples before you really go into a layout of a book?
Judith, quite honestly, I feel like there's enough benefit for us to make sure that the client is pleased that I don't normally charge for a couple of samples.
Wow, hot tip.
If we can help make the process go that much smoother, chances are we're going to have a more satisfied customer, and they're going to sell more books. These things will come back to us in the future. So
excellent. Well, thank you so much.
Normally I do not charge for samples like this.
Oh, excellent tip. So, to all our listeners on printing, ask your printer if they will give you a couple of sample pages. We're not talking about the whole book before you commit to a multi-$1,000 investment. Sounds good. Sure. Thanks, Phil Knight.
Okay, Judith. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Here we go. Colorhouse Graphics, one of the Author U sponsors that we highly recommend. All right, now we have on the line one of my favorite people. I've known Patti for a zillion years. Actually, I met her across coffee at a restaurant where she was interviewing me on one of my books when she was a reporter with the Rocky Mountain News. She went on to become their book editor, and there are times that we clashed a little bit on some of the things that she was writing, but I always felt, my God, this woman can write, and when is she going to do her own book? Well, she's not writing her own book yet, per se, at least the way I love to see her do it, but what she is working with people on their books, and she is an editor in her own right since she's left the Rocky Mountain News, and she also is the managing partner of a whole new enchilada called BlueInk Reviews, which specializes in doing book reviews of the self-published and independent published market. So with us this afternoon for our final segment is Patti Thorn. Welcome, Patti.
Hey, Judith. Thanks for having me.
So tell me, what exactly is BlueInk? I mean, I given a little hint, but why'd you find it?
Well, I guess it goes back to where we clashed early on when I was at the Rocky Mountain News. Well, so when I was book editor at the Rocky Mountain News, I would get lots of self-published books, and we had a policy of not reviewing self-published books. And the reason for that, and that's where Judith and I, just for the audience's knowledge, that's where we sort of clashed, in that you felt that we should have been reviewing self-published books.
Not all of them. I mean, I agree with you. Most of them are crap. I hate to say that. There's too much crap out there. But there are some really wonderful self-published books.
Yeah, and the thing is, and it was really hard to explain, but at that time, I had a very small budget. We paid reviewers probably $20. When I first started, it was $20 a review. When I finished, it was $50. And I had a very small budget. So in order to find those good books, you have to devote quite a lot of manpower to going through not so good books, and I just didn't have that kind of resources. So people would call me up often and say, I've just printed my book, and how can I order up a review? And I'd say, well, I'm really sorry, we don't take orders for reviews, and we don't review self-published books. And they'd say, oh my God, well then how am I gonna get the word out about my book? And I'd say, well, I'm really sorry. And it was just sort of a frustration for me, in that, I just felt terrible for these people. And I did believe you, Judith, that there were gems in these piles of books, but, I just knew we didn't have the resources to find them. So when the newspaper went under, I was talking with an agent friend of mine, and, we were just thinking that this would be a really good service that people need for self-published books. So what we are a fee-based review service. People pay a fee. They send us their book. We send the book to a qualified reviewer and then return the review to the author. The reviews are all honest, objective reviews, so it's possible that an author might pay for a negative review, which is never what you hope, but it does happen. So that's what we are, and so now people can call in, order a review, and they can get their book reviewed.
Yeah, but even if it's negative, you can still find a positive to do with it, which we hopefully we can hit on before we exit this afternoon. So why does an author need a review?
Well, I think reviews help tremendously. There's, as you know, there's thousands and thousands of books published every year, and each book really is sort of a faceless spine to people unless they know what's in it. And a book review provides an objective analysis of the book. So a book isn't like a movie. I mean, I think movies need reviews too, but if you're not usually going to spend 2 hours reading a book. You're going to spend 4 or 5 or more hours, and it's a huge investment, not only of money but time. Mm-hmm. So I think a review is really important for people to know, is this going to be worth that investment? It's going to be worth my time more than anything else.
So if an author has let's say they have a positive review that comes out of one of your reviewers for BlueInk Review, mm-hmm. Would the Library Journal have an interest? Would somebody else? Would one of the mainstreams? Library Journal would be a mainstream for me. Publishers Weekly is certainly huge, but they want to see everything before. You're looking at books post usually, are you not, or am I wrong on that?
Yeah, we accept books that are printed, published.
So they're
we don't really do pre-manuscript kind of reviewing.
Right. So Library Journal and the other is not an issue. What do they do with a review once they get one? What do you suggest?
Well, a review can be used not a million, but a lot of different ways. I suggest that they find the best, most lively, most evocative line or two from the review, mm-hmm. and put it on any marketing material, any press releases. So, you can kind of make a review snowball for you if you put it on your press release, and it may then catch the eye of another reviewer, another publication. I put it on the back of the book. I put it on my website. I put it on any advertisements that I had. I would put it on any emails that I send out, trying to attract the attention of someone else who might help me market my book. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? I mean,
sure.
I would use it on every, if you put out little bookmarks for your marketing of your book, put it on that. One review helps catch the eye for the next person who might write the next review, and the more reviews you have, the better it is.
Patti, when we come back from our break here, what I'd like to do is have you talk about some of the biggest reasons that self-publishers get negative reviews. And I'd also love to really look at, do they really sell books, a review, how to do, and does it belong on the back of your book or does it belong on the inside, which is certainly the trend I see more and more as I see, especially if there's a laundry list of reviews that a book is picked up, that they'll put them in what we call the front matter.
Right.
So when we come back,
okay.
we'll be back here in just a few minutes, and do pay attention to the wonderful sponsors that we have that make your guide to book publishing possible. I'm Judith Briles, my guest, Patti Thorn.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
The book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and a guide to partner with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand, and is a financial success, a bestseller. It's your choice. You choose. You need the book shepherd. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You don't need problems. You want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and the chaos. At times, she's had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher or by a publishing service provider or sometimes even the author themselves. Judith Briles is the book shepherd if you want to create a book with no regrets. Give her a call today, 303-885-2207. That's 303-885-2207, or email her at judith@briles.com. By the way, Briles is spelled B-R-I-L-E-S. Follow Judith on Twitter at My Book Shepherd and on Facebook at The Book Shepherd.
At Total Printing Systems, customer service is our priority. We are located in Southern Illinois. Our employees have an average of 18 years experience and know that customer relationships are important to our continued success. We have been a short-run book printer for nearly 40 years and always stay at the forefront of technology. Our niche is from 1 to 5,000 copies. Today, we offer digital, black and white, and 4-color high-speed inkjet printing, a cost-effective way to introduce color into your short-run titles. We, of course, offer traditional offset printing as well. Bindery is done in-house, from adhesive case binding to PUR perfect binding to mechanical binding of all types, including side sewing. We provide warehousing, kitting, distribution, inventory management, a new print-on-demand facility, streaming browser-based ebooks, and bookstore. Call us at 1-800-465-5200 for a quote on your next book project. You can also visit our website at www.tps1.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask on the Rockstar Radio Network. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, we're back again with Patti Thorn, and the question always is about reviews. How do you get them? Where do you go? Should you pay? Is it going to be biased, or which way is it going to go? What do you do if you get a negative review? So maybe, Patti, let's open up. So let's say that it's not so wonderful. You mentioned before we took our break that maybe there's a line or two that might be really divine that you can pull from it. What else could you do?
If you get a negative review?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the best thing. Well, there's two ways a negative review is useful. One is usually there is a line in a review that you can use that, most books are mixed reviews, really. And so there's going to be positive and negative in the review. So the best thing you can do is take the positive line and use that. But broader than that, I think, especially for self-publishing authors, is to actually pay attention to the review and use it as constructive criticism. I mean, nobody likes to get a negative review, and I know that, but all of our reviews, when they're negative, they have really good advice for authors in there, and I really hope that people take that advice with them when they do their next work. So, I mean, that's pretty cheap, actually, if you think about it in the long run. If you pay attention to it, it can pay off as you go down the road in your writing work. So I guess, I don't know too much about how you would use a negative review other than those two ways, I guess.
And then I guess not tell anybody and then fix it.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, and then go back and take another stab at it. And don't blame the messenger. Just look at the message and say, well, maybe there's something here I can learn from.
Yeah, besides my mother loved it, let's talk about some of the biggest reasons that those reviews may turn negative.
Well, so the biggest reason that we see is that books have not been copy edited. And by that I mean an editor hasn't gone through and fixed all the punctuation, grammar problems. It's amazing the things that we see which really will just drop your jaw. I mean, there are books that go on for pages and pages without any punctuation at all that we've received. And if you've ever tried to read something where the punctuation is not correct, it's the most mind-boggling experience. I never realized how important punctuation and grammar was until I read some of these books that have not been copy edited. So I think you would agree, right, Judith, that's one of the biggest things. But beyond that, also a content editor, I'd say the biggest comment we have in our reviews is that this was a great idea. It had a lot of potential. It just needed an editor to polish it, shape it up, maybe give it a little more direction or something like that. I'd say those are the two major things that most of our negative reviews will say. There wasn't good copy editing, and there wasn't good, it could have used a content editor. Beyond that, I think beyond that, I think a lot of times people just don't study the market, and so you'll get a book that kind of you're expecting one thing and you get another thing. They don't, the covers aren't exactly up to market standards and things like that. And you might say, well, that doesn't really, what's the big deal about a cover? But it sets up a reader's expectation for what they're going to find inside. The title is the same way. So a lot of times we get titles that are really off, and so when the reviewer opens it up expecting one thing and they get another thing, right off the bat, that's a problem, just in their whole mindset and their expectations. So
the title / cover promised one thing and the inside delivered something else.
Right.
Is that what I hear? Yeah.
Yes.
I see that too. And the other thing I think that will help on a review process, in addition to just the downright editing and both on the developmental side as well as the copy, punctuation, grammar side, is that I think interior designs and the visual. I work very hard with authors to one of my bugaboos is paragraph perpetuity, where people have these paragraphs that their entire page. You got to give your eyeballs a rest.
Right. Well, the thing is, I think what people don't understand is, there's been these standards that have been set in the industry for years and years and years. And while it's always nice to be able to break out and be creative and say, okay, the gatekeeper's gone and all that, I'm my own boss, I can do what I want. The problem is that people have expectations from these years and years of standards in the industry, and it's really disturbing on a subliminal level when these books don't kind of meet those standards. So you're used to reading something that's sort of flawless in punctuation and grammar, and you're used to a standard, like you said, with the interior design and all those things. If they're subtly off, they just subtly bother a reader, and the reader, maybe they don't even articulate what's wrong, but it's just not the same reading experience that they're used to.
Well, and I have to say, in defense of the independent and self-publishers, which is who you're working with, is that there's been such dramatic changes in traditional publishing that the standards are not what the standards were 20 years ago.
No, that's true. But even so, I think people still expect those standards. I mean, I've had so many people say, wow, I just read this book from Random House or whatever, and there were a bunch of typos, and they're just not used to that.
I had a book with McGraw-Hill in the 90s. It was called Gender Traps. It was a great book, but there were errors that I actually, I caught them as the author on my copies, and they were copy editing, typos, and I told them to correct them, and doggone it, they didn't.
Wow.
And I remember being reviewed by someone in your role with the Chicago Tribune saying there are 3 errors on this first page. How can I believe the data from the study is correct?
Right.
And I said, well, the data from the study actually was my PDFs that got dropped in.
Right.
But so I know that that's correct. But, I was defending myself when I shouldn't have had to been.
Right, but so then how important it is because it creates that impression
absolutely
right off the bat.
It's a credibility issue. Well, those are some of the reasons. Editing is the biggie. Why doesn't mainstream publishing, and who are the publications, the mainstream publications, why have they so tiptoed around or awayed or kind of had the voodoo X against the self-published market?
Well, I think just because of what we've been talking about, nobody has, all the book sections have very, very limited resources. I mean, it might be a big daily paper, but most daily papers don't commit much resources to the book pages. So you have a limited budget, and you have, I can speak from sitting in that desk for 12 years, you get books pouring in. You can't even imagine. I would get probably 250 books a week just from traditional publishers. And you got to remember that among all those books coming in are books that people really want to read a review on. How good is the latest Stephen King book? Or, I mean, as much as they don't probably necessarily need a review, people want to read that. Or whatever latest expose is in Washington or whatever. There are a certain number of those books that you are going to have to cover if you want to keep an audience of interested readers on your pages. So already, that takes up a lot of space, and then you want to give voice to some new authors, and by that time, you're just inundated. So you have plenty of books that have already been vetted, that have been well copy edited, that have been well edited, hopefully, to choose from. So when it's self-publishing, it's just what I said before. When you get a bunch of self-published books, well, people will be interested in the ones that are super great, but you have to commit so many resources to finding those books. They have to read probably 10 books to find one that's maybe worthwhile running. Book sections just don't have that kind of resource.
Or more than 10. So the bottom line, if an author is going to have a chance, it better look bloody good on the outside before they even open it up to see about the inside. Otherwise, it goes into your slush fund, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Like if you can make your book, if you have a book and it looks just like, I put it next to a book from Random House or Simon & Schuster, and it looks just the same, quality-wise, and I can't tell it's self-published, then you're on the same playing field,
Well, that's
if I don't
huge.
know it's self-published, I might consider it for a review.
Terrific. All right, Patti, how do people find BlueInk, and what's our secret code that they can use to get a discount to get one of yours?
Oh gosh, I forgot.
You know what? If they go to the Author U website and they click under Associates on the authoru.org website, there is a code that can be used that they can save $75 on a review, if I recall correctly. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I suggest everybody go to your Author U website to find that code, and then they can go to www.blueinkreview.com, and all the information on ordering a review will be there.
Terrific. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks, Judith. Great talking to you.
All right. Take care. All right. Next up, next week, have you got a blog? How's it working for you? Are you getting traffic? How about comments? Is it exciting or stimulating, or is it just something the web designer told you had to do? Well, next week, it's all about blogs, and with me will be one of the best blogs I know out there. We're going to have Joel Friedlander with us, who is known as the Bookman, and we're going to be talking about blogs, how to make them sing, how to make them soar, how to get them do what they should be doing. So join me next week. I'm Dr. Judith Briles. You're listening to your guide to book publishing. Thanks a lot. Have a great week.
Thank you for being a part of Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles.